Senator Bernie Sanders has made it clear that since corporate Democrats in the Senate refuse to go through with their part of the deal on the budget reconciliation bill, he wants House Democrats, specifically progressives, to stand their ground and vote no on the corporate handout bill, also known as the bipartisan infrastructure bill. Here he is talking to The Hill about why he believes these progressive lawmakers should block that legislation.
Are you making any progress there?
Well, I'm not, the answer is that is what is very troubling to me. The answer, I think, I'm not in the middle of all those negotiations, but Senators Sinema and Manchin, as I understand it, were in the White House today. From what I can hear from the reports is no. It goes on and on and on. We're talking and nothing is happening. And I think that's why it's important that we defeat the infrastructure bill in the House, and that if these guys want to see the infrastructure bill passed, they're going to have to deal with us in reconciliation.
And is that part of your worry? If the talks aren't really not progressing with the infrastructure bill still in limbo, once the infrastructure bill is passed, then there'll be no motivation for them to talk.
That's about it, yes.
Now, the vote on the bipartisan infrastructure bill is quickly approaching. It will likely happen tomorrow. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says that she would not bring a piece of legislation up to the House floor for a vote unless she knew she had the votes to ensure that that legislation passes. So we'll see how it all plays out tomorrow, because progressives remain firm on their threats to block that bill. Later there were some tweets by Senator Sanders and other progressive members of Congress. I want to read this to you so I can also provide a little more context into what's going on here. Now, he writes, no infrastructure bill should pass without a $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill. That is the agreement that we made or was made, and that is the agreement that must be kept. Physical infrastructure is important, but the needs of working families and combating climate change is more important. And I want to be clear about something. Remember, this agenda was all supposed to come in the form of one massive piece of legislation. It was supposed to include the physical infrastructure along with the social safety net programs that would certainly help create more of an equal system here in the United States. Right now, we see a lot of the redistribution of wealth going to the very top. And so the whole plan with the reconciliation bill is to ensure passage of all the provisions that were stripped out of that essentially corporate handout bill. I keep calling it that because the reason why corporations favor the bipartisan infrastructure bill, the reason why it's a bipartisan bill with Republican support in the Senate in the first place is because corporate donors love it. There is an effort to privatize public infrastructure. There's an effort to ensure that these corporations get these massive government contracts. They see dollar signs when they look at that bipartisan infrastructure bill, which is why progressives actually don't like that bill, and it shouldn't be a problem to defeat that bill if corporate Democrats fail to follow through with their part of the deal, which is to ensure passage for the reconciliation bill that includes all the provisions that actually matter. Provisions that expand Medicare, lowers the Medicare eligibility age, provides 2 years of free community college, paid mandatory family leave. I mean, these are honestly common sense policies that are already offered to people living in other developed countries. But here in the United States, one of the richest countries in the world, we don't offer those things. And the fact that we're not willing to ensure passage of that reconciliation bill tells you everything you need to know about our political system and the corporate interests that have captured it. Now, Bernie Sanders isn't the only one who is urging progressive members of the House to block the bipartisan infrastructure bill. Senator Elizabeth Warren also joined forces with Bernie Sanders, saying the following: the agreement from the beginning was that all the pieces would move together and that one piece wouldn't be broken off and moved ahead of the others. Both Leader Schumer and Speaker Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats in the House and the Senate all said that's the deal. I want to make sure we hold to that deal. I don't want to see that deal broken. So there seems to be this unified front among progressive lawmakers, and I really do love to see it. Similar statement was put out by Senator Ed Markey, who says, hashtag hold the line, pass both bills. And there are also, of course, many progressives in the House who say, yeah, that was the plan. That was the plan from the beginning, and we are going to stand our ground. Here is a somewhat lengthy compilation of all the various progressive members of the House who have spoken pretty openly, candidly about what they intend to do once Nancy Pelosi brings that bipartisan bill up for a vote in the House. Let's watch.
If we are serious about addressing the climate crisis, if we're serious about addressing the long neglected needs of working families, we have to pass the reconciliation bill. My fear is that if the dual track agreement is broken and we only pass the infrastructure bill in the House, I suspect we will never get to reconciliation.
Senator Bernie Sanders has said over and over again, the infrastructure bipartisan legislation would not have passed with his support and the support of so many other Democrats in the Senate if an agreement wasn't reached that we will be able to pass these two bills together.
All of the folks at the White House know we're being reasonable, and literally one senator, Kirsten Sinema, is holding up the will of the entire Democratic Party.
What has she said that she wants, as far as you know?
That's the question. The president keeps begging her, tell us what you want, put a proposal forward. You see the progressives, look at what we've compromised on. We went from 6 trillion to 3.5 trillion. Then they said we need to pass a bill in the Senate first. We said, even if you come up with an agreement, that's fine. Then they said, go below 3.5 trillion. We said, okay, we're willing to negotiate, front load the benefits. Let's talk about the years. We are willing to compromise. How do you compromise, John, when Sinema is not saying anything?
It is sickening to me that there are people who will just push aside those that need these deep housing investments. What we're talking about is saving lives right now. We need that prescription drug reform, and to say, oh, you know what? You can continue to have to worry about whether you're going to pay your rent or get the life-saving medications that you need, because you know what? My donors are the ones who have me here. It's sickening.
Now that they are negating on that promise and that deal, we have to hold the line, and we have to hold them accountable for breaking the deal that they made with us.
There are 24, at minimum, 24 progressive lawmakers in the House who have pledged to vote no on the bipartisan infrastructure bill, and I to see what Speaker Nancy Pelosi has up her sleeve, because is there a possibility that she has enough Republican votes in the House to make up for the progressives who refuse to vote yes on that bill? I honestly think it's unlikely, especially when you consider that the Republican Party overall is still very much captured by Donald Trump, and Donald Trump does not want to provide the Biden administration any type of win, especially when he's considering running against Biden in 2024. But I could be wrong, who knows? Remember, the bipartisan infrastructure bill is favored by corporate interests, which means it's favored by corporate donors, which is why you have 19 Republican senators who voted in favor of the bipartisan infrastructure bill. So who knows what's likely to happen in the House tomorrow? But the only opportunity that we have, the only leverage progressives have, is this bipartisan bill and the threats that they're still making regarding voting no on that bill unless they get what they want in the reconciliation bill. And understand that they've already made significant concessions to corporate Democrats in the Senate. The bill was initially supposed to spend far more money, okay? Something along the lines of $5 to $6 trillion, and they negotiated, they made some concessions, and the agreement, along with people like Senators Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema, was, all right, we'll whittle the number down to 3.5 trillion. As long as we get an agreement from you guys that you will vote in favor of the budget reconciliation bill once the full bill is up for a vote in the Senate. Remember, both Manchin and Sinema voted yes on the framework of the reconciliation bill, right? So the dollar amount, $3.5 trillion, they both voted yes on that already, and then they backtracked. So we all know why they backtracked. We all know about the corporate interests at play. We know about Kyrsten Sinema taking hundreds of thousands of dollars from the pharmaceutical industry in order to defeat this bill. We know about the personal financial investments that Joe Manchin is worried about. Remember, the reconciliation bill deals with climate change. He don't like that. He loves fossil fuels. He makes more money off fossil fuels than he does from his Senate salary. $500,000 last year alone from dirty coal. That is what's motivating Joe Manchin. That's what fuels this honestly disgusting political system. That legalized bribery is really front and center. It's slapping Americans in the face as we speak. And I'm really happy to see that some reporters are finally starting to cover it fairly, because treating Manchin and Sinema as if they're good faith actors or that they're negotiating in good faith is ridiculous. That's not journalism. That's withholding critical information from viewers, from readers, from listeners about what the real motivations are and what the real factors are at play behind the scenes as these corporate Democrats attempt to defeat an incredibly important piece of legislation, and also an incredibly popular piece of legislation.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.